I'm lost for words when you speak of Coach Landry because he means so much to me. He taught me so much on and off the field.
The Dallas Cowboys came into the NFL at the perfect time. Television was just beginning to make professional football the king of all sports. Back in the 60s, Westerns were the popular choice in prime time. Bonanza and Gunsmoke the ratings hits, and all the NFL needed was a Sunday afternoon hero to keep America tuned in. But before you can become a hero, you have to be an underdog, and you have to suffer to win the hearts of millions. Back in the 60s, the Cowboys did plenty of suffering. Here's George Reba.
The coldest game I ever played was in Green Bay.
Operator would bring your room and say, "Good morning, it's 7:30 and it's 17 below zero." And I had icicles hanging down this bar, and the trainer said, "Don't pull those off. They'll break, they'll pull your skin off." No question when, I threw the halfback pass for a touchdown, first play of the fourth quarter, I really thought there was no way anybody could move the ball. It was so slippery and so cold, so icy, you just couldn't imagine an offensive team being able to move the ball in those kind of conditions.
Trailing 17-14, the Packers, led by Bart Starr, drove 69 yards in the final 4.5 minutes. A fourth down play with 16 seconds left on the clock would become one of the most famous plays in NFL history. A moment literally frozen in time.
Quarterback sneak is the last thing I thought of, so I told the cameraman in the end zone to pan to one of the wide receivers. And he started panning the camera. It was so cold he couldn't move the camera. It was frozen.
You see Lillard digging in, trying to chip the ice to get some footing. And my feet were so numb, I could barely scrape the surface. I mean, it's just like my foot was in above the concrete.
Lombardi made a bad call on the goal line. He loses the game. It's a whole story.
Would Tom Landry have called that play?
Well, I think so. Under the circumstances, if you remember seeing Bob Lilly and Jethro Pugh, and they were down there hitting the ground, trying to get a foothold. If he goes straight ahead, we didn't have a chance. And well, that's what he did. We didn't have a chance.
20-17, and the Green Bay Packers are going to be world champions, NFL champions for the third.
Jerry Kramer has finally admitted he was offside. Hey, that's the way it goes.
I can remember when Don Meredith, we walked in the shower, and his hands frozen, just cold there. And the trainers had to come and unbutton our pads because we didn't have no feelings.
It's more than a loss. It kind of takes your soul out of you. And I don't think I can go through this again.
Awarded a franchise in 1960, there would be many years of suffering in the beginning. Hiring Tom Landry and opting for Cowboys over Rangers were just two strokes of genius by General Manager Ted Schramm.
I was very impressed with the New York Yankees because they did the one thing that I think is the most important, and that is to win, but to win with class.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cotton Bowl. The Dallas Cowboys starting a great new era for professional football at Dallas.
Playing in the cavernous Cotton Bowl, the Cowboys would win just 13 games in their first 4 seasons.
They would get beaten every Sunday. Sitting in the press box, it looked like studio football because they played in the Cotton Bowl, and what few people were in the stadium had all retreated up under the decks. So when we ran out on the field, you couldn't see anybody. And Meredith said, "Well, it finally happened." And I said, "What?" He said, "Nobody bought a ticket." He said,
Meredith, who signed a personal services contract with Clint Murchison before the team existed, is often portrayed as a happy-go-lucky loser. In truth, players say he is a respected leader to this day, and perhaps the finest quarterback to wear the silver and blue.
I don't like him. I just only love him because he's the best.
I think that's absolutely true, and I think we all feel that he was probably the most talented quarterback we've had.
I think of Don Meredith, I can see him getting hit and throwing the ball just as he's getting hit and knocked backwards. And I remember thinking for the years that I watched him play, broadcast the games that he was playing in. This has got to be the toughest guy that I've ever known in my life. Leon Donahue was the guard, and he missed a guy, and I'll remember it forever. He came back, and he picked me up, and he was crying. And he said, "Daddy, I'm so sorry. I missed him."
40 years after the fact, the Landry mystique is redefined by former players who say he often miscalled plays and placed much of the blame for the team's performance on Meredith's shoulders.
Coach Landry was very pointed in his criticism. It was always somebody else's fault, and he was easy to point out whose fault it was, and it was primarily Don's. I think I was around him for his 29 years, and I never heard him say he called a bad play or had a bad game plan.
Another Landry myth is his stoic nature. Carved in granite, he is seen as cold and unmoving. The rift between himself and Meredith was partially resolved after another disappointing loss, when Landry showed a side of his personality few had seen before or since.
He said, "I feel that I've let you all down," and he said, and then he started weeping, and then he said, "I probably won't be around next year," but he said, I do. I just want to tell you all how much I think of you and how much I appreciate your efforts. And I don't know, it did something to us. It was like he just touched something that, like pressing that button or overdrive, you know, you got an extra 5% in there, well, you just give that extra 5% that maybe we had been holding back.
You always remember something like that. It's a real wonderful to see someone, react to that way, because they were sincere, they were good, they were friends of mine. Even though that I had that division, they were still friends of mine, and it made all the difference in the world.
I probably expected too much of him. I'm from a very small town, and from very early on, coaches become like father figures, and you look to them for things like that. And there were a few times in my life and in my career when I was there that some fairly severe things happened to me personally, and if I have a disappointment, I feel like that there were a couple of times when it was my fault, putting maybe too much pressure, too much emphasis, that maybe I was looking for him to flip the light on for me, and he was not able to do that.
8 years of disappointment forced Meredith from the game in 1969 after just 9 seasons. He was only 30, but he left behind a lifetime worth of stories.
Meredith, I just bothered me, but I said, "You picked up the whole tab." And I said, "That's $400, He said, "Well, I made $200. I said, "What do you mean you made $200? He said, "We had $600 worth of fun, didn't we?" And he would be whistling. "Don, what do you think? Off tackle? Yeah. Okay, let's go." And everybody would be loose, That's just the way he kind of played quarterback, and fun to play with.
Losing Super Bowl V against Baltimore further cemented Dallas's label as chokers. Off the field, the team and the city were still trying to regain a sense of pride after the events of November 22nd, 1963.
It was very somber. In fact, that's all we heard about for quite some time, but the game went out the window. As far as we were concerned, we quit worrying about the game. I think we all did a little soul searching, just totally shocked that it could happen in Dallas, Texas, or anywhere else, but really shocked that it could happen in Dallas.
We were sending some suitcases back to West Virginia, and the man saw that I was from Dallas, Texas, and he said, "I don't know if I want to ship those for you or not."
We could tell no one wanted us around, and when we were out on the field, I don't know about my teammates, I was apprehensive about going on the field and getting shot.
How you express the feeling, the dejection, it's like, I wish I'd never played this game. I wish I had never even set foot on the hill, because it hurts big time.
It would be several years before Dallas and the Cowboys would overcome the events of that day. The debate over the value of sports in our daily lives is ongoing, but there is no question of the important role that the Cowboys would play in the 70s.